We need to end the whole bloody notion of soups.
Mr. Marathon and trailer scenes break down. There are only a few episodes left before The Boys ends forever, and fans are impatient after a slow middle part of the season. However, teasers show that total madness is coming.
Shock and awe.
A lot of unseen clips are waiting to explode on screen for the big finale. Unexpectedly, Mr. Marathon shows up much later than anyone expected. Instead of fighting A-Train like fans guessed, he just stands frozen while Soldier Boy crushes someone's throat nearby. That moment points to something much darker, Soldier Boy tearing through both friends and enemies to find a soup named Bomb Site. His actual goal? Find the hidden Compound 5, one boost that everyone is looking for. Later, mud splashes on Homelander while a fish dies under the burning sun on cracked ground. That blast from Soldier Boy's chest won't just dry up the water, it will completely burn the deep away, leaving Homelander trapped in the dry wreckage. Homelander is seen inside the Oval Office one moment, and next he is shooting red lasers into dark clouds right after taking Compound V1. Total chaos is already showing up frame by frame. When things get crazy, the Gen V characters return, drawn into a massive crisis caused by the virus. Marie Moreau steps up with blood on her hands, ready to use her powers to either finish the weapon or destroy it completely. Ryan trains, then vanishes, right now. With time running out, Ryan is completely missing, and this feels like a deliberate plan. While the world is caught in a massive war between heroes, his absence feels like a quiet strategy. The strongest kid on Earth stays hidden, and will only step up when everything else fails. His job is to stand in the one spot where even Homelander has to stop. Everything changed in the past when Homelander almost killed his own son in a brutal beating. Every now and then someone writes things down just like people talk. Each part flows without breaks, sounding familiar, kind of how you'd tell a story while walking somewhere. Sentences bump into each other, not perfect but real, shaped by pauses that feel right in the moment. Words get picked because they fit, not because they impress. This way of putting thoughts out there skips polish on purpose, letting meaning come through messy edges. It moves slow when needed, jumps ahead at others, follows rhythm more than rules. Even though he is quiet now, something big is building up. But things change because Homelander gets his hands on Compound 5-1. Before that, Ryan had a real chance if he stayed focused. However, everything changes once the new compound gives Homelander ultimate power. Suddenly, fighting him head-on becomes impossible for Ryan, so the final plan cannot be a direct fight right away. Instead, the team needs to weaken Homelander first. Only when he is brought down to Earth will a real fight make any sense. The deep losing its way, and what comes next. Even so, the weakest hero ever somehow manages to keep going. When he admitted to killing Black Noir, everything shattered, but Homelander didn't care. He just said the Seven didn't matter anymore. That cold answer ruined the Deep's confidence. His whole world collapsed instantly. Now the Deep is hiding in silence after a humiliating moment where people laughed at him for failing to save someone drowning in the ocean. Left with absolutely nothing, he finds himself totally alone. The sea creatures that used to follow him now hate him, believing he broke the ocean pipeline on purpose. He used to rule the ocean like a god, but now rejection has sealed his fate. He doesn't belong there anymore. Yet this terrible situation sets up an interesting twist for the end. Could the Deep finally lose his fear and do something meaningful? With a superpowered dictator running wild, the boys desperately need help. If he can break out of his usual pathetic routine, dive deep into the water, tell the sea creatures the truth about the broken pipe, and fight hard with the team on land, it could completely change how fans see him. After years of being a joke, this one brave act could finally give his character some real value. Homelander versus Butcher. Final showdown. What to expect? Here comes the massive fight everyone has waited years to see. Billy Butcher going head-to-head against Homelander with years of pure hatred boiling over. But since Homelander is now supercharged by the new Compound 5-1 formula, the first part of the final battle won't be about punches or anger. It will be a cold, calculated plan to strip away his godlike powers just to make a real fight possible. This raises a major worry. Is there enough time left for a proper final battle? A rushed 5-minute fight would ruin everything. Fans want something much heavier, two broken men ripping each other apart until nothing is left. One thinks he is a god destroying filth, while the other fights with his last breath to drag that god down into the dirt. Time is running out, but the heavy emotional weight of this moment is real. In the end, it makes perfect sense for Butcher to land the final blow. But there is no happy ending here. Built purely as a weapon to destroy things, he doesn't fit into a normal world. After finally killing Homelander, his body completely fails from his deep wounds and advanced illness, and he collapses right next to the man he hunted for years, both dying among the destruction they created. Marie, from Gen 5, and the ability to control blood. When Marie Moreau showed up for just a tiny quiet moment near the end of the story, fans were pretty disappointed. However, introducing her so briefly means they are saving her big moments for later. Her arrival is not random. A dangerous power like hers won't just sit on the sidelines when everything else is falling apart. She will play a major role once the final collapse begins. This leads to the biggest theory fans are talking about, using blood control to rip Compound 5-1 right out of someone's body. People think Marie might take control of Homelander by manipulating his blood, reaching directly into his veins. Taking away his powers won't be easy. Fighting through his superpowered cells will be incredibly brutal and painful. Facing a monster like him means every second is pure agony. Out of nowhere, Marie pushes her body to the absolute limit, stopping Homelander's blood flow from the inside just long enough to change the battle. A second later, Kimiko sets off the fake Soldier Boy device, blasting him at the perfect moment. This victory comes from teamwork, not just one person taking over. Power surges through his veins like a short circuit, and then everything goes quiet. Butcher still steps up when it matters most. The win belongs to everyone's combined actions, not just one hero. Homelander destroys cities without reason. High above the earth, Homelander hovers completely still and quiet. Down below, cities start burning without warning, one after another, as fire wipes out entire skylines. The previews showed this in a slow, almost peaceful way. Just him in empty space while destruction spreads across the world like spilled ink. TV screens flashed his blank, emotionless face as he watched everything burn beneath him. Out in the dark, Ryan moves like a ghost, shaped by something deeper than pain. Not unlike a storm building behind quiet eyes, he trains without pause, every motion deliberate. Instead of running toward fights, he waits, learning, striking air until it answers back. Hidden in his blood is an old strength, one few know exists. This isn't fate knocking, it's inheritance waking up. The man who made him walks tall, unaware of what grows beneath. Power doesn't always roar at first, it sometimes learns silence. Silence turned out scarier than a blast ever could. Odd how global fear simply disappeared near the end. Then came dull workplace fights instead of disorder. Minutes drained away on small conflicts nobody cared about. Tension faded exactly when it needed to grow. Stalling like that often leaves too much ground for the last part. Pacing collapses because moments meant to simmer get yanked forward fast. A global war that was promised for years gets cut down into quick edits, exploding cities, and scrolling news headlines, all just rushing to get to the final punch. A massive, terrifying event shrinks into quick bullet points. Viewers waited years for a huge build-up, only to get a trimmed-down spectacle. This massive story needed room to breathe, but instead, it trips over itself just to get two men swinging fists at each other. Homelander gets new power, but story pauses. What happens near the end reveals a strange flaw in how the story is written. Too many fake threats pop up, which ruins the logic of the show. After we see Homelander get the ultimate version of Compound 5-1, a massive upgrade that should make him completely safe from the virus, and stronger than ever, the story suddenly hits a reset button. The tension immediately disappears back into a familiar, calm status quo. This pattern takes away all the excitement from the plot. Homelander flies above the trees where his enemies are walking around, yet he hears nothing and does nothing. Even though he is built like a god with super hearing, he misses everything. That silence lasts too long and feels completely wrong. Back in Season 1, he felt like a sharp, terrifying danger. Now, offstage, the big events unfold away from view, then disappear so fast they never land. Not weakened by injury or loss, his influence slips only because the story stops paying attention, pushed aside while everything urgent plays out unseen. Just as tension ought to climb, it deflates, swapping dread for a quiet shrug. Frenchie's quiet passing and lost chances. Just like that, Frenchie is gone, ripped out by a moment so violent it leaves silence behind. Loud? Yes, Wild, always, yet somehow dependable when chaos hits. His exit doesn't land right, it drags more than shocks, like someone needed names crossed off a list. Death this big should crack open the middle of the season, not skid in breathless near the close. Instead it stumbles, a beat too late, a punch without weight. Only then would it have properly changed the emotional weight of the remaining scenes. What stood out most was how Homelander moved, frighteningly fast and sudden as he closed in on Frenchie. But right after that, everything stalled. The scene lost its danger because nothing changed, falling right back into predictable patterns. Viewers felt it too, a boring predictability that choked out what could have been a wild, shocking moment. A sudden quiet falls when Frenchie locks Sister Sage and Kimiko behind a thick zinc shield, knowing that the metal blocks Homelander's X-ray vision. Suddenly, heat radiates off Homelander as he smirks and burns clean through the metal like paper. His body hums with a terrifying new power, showing he has no limits left. Fans will freeze in shock, realizing nothing can stop him now. But then, incredibly, the characters slip away unharmed again, as if lucky writing saved them just in time. Soldier Boy's broken story path affects new shows out of nowhere. Soldier Boy drops, flat out unconscious, seconds after hogging every spotlight moment this whole run. All that build-up about his power, then poof, silenced mid-stride. Worse yet? Barely any breath between knockout and locker, shoved straight back into frozen storage. Feels less like story logic, more like stashing a toy in a drawer till another series needs it. Just sitting there, waiting for someone else to play. His entire character arc is forced to bend for Hollywood scheduling, not for a meaningful plot. Mexico is waiting, and Vought needs its characters lined up for future money. True art gets replaced by corporate planning. One moment he is crucial, and the next he is put back on ice. This didn't happen because it fit the story, but because it served the studio's business. Treating such a complex character like garbage feels like a slap in the face to fans. It becomes clear that Soldier Boy was used as a basic tool to push scenes forward, with nothing real or lasting for his character. Then he suddenly vanishes, throwing away all the heavy dramatic moments built up with Homelander. His choices change direction completely at the end, making no sense until he just walks away because corporate life bores him. Fans notice these flaws. This didn't come from the character's personality. It came from a boardroom decision to save a popular character for future profit. A potentially massive storyline collapses into nothing, ruined by timing that helps bank accounts instead of the show. Gen V Cameos changed story and let fans down. What looked like a huge moment with Marie Moreau and Jordan Lee joining the main show turned out to be nothing more than a cheap trick for internet hype. Fans who watched Gen V, believing these characters would matter heavily in the main plot, were left shocked by how empty it all felt. Instead of building up Marie's terrifying blood powers, which were once shown as strong enough to end everything, the script backed away completely. They even added dialogue explicitly saying she was never actually that strong. Her threat level was quickly downgraded through awkward explanations, and fans who cared about her story saw it fall apart, without any grace. Out of nowhere, the big mystery behind Gen V's hidden Odessa project was dropped completely, as if it never mattered. Suddenly, the audience is told she doesn't belong anywhere near Homelander's power level. Some fans might be glad they can skip the spin-offs without missing much, but this move breaks how shared universes are supposed to work. No one expected college kids to defeat Billy Butcher in his big moment, but these characters still deserved a real challenge with actual stakes. Turning them into quiet, background extras with no voice ruins everything that was built before, making the larger world feel disconnected and weak. The deep Ashley and repetitive character themes. We are right at the finish line, yet we are still stuck watching scenes that clearly got lost in the shuffle. The show never fixes how much the Deep shows up when nobody needs him around. His entire arc is just a long, repetitive circle of sad attempts to please a boss who hates looking at him. Every single meeting is exactly like the last one, the same begging, the same cringe, and nothing new ever happens. If you erased his scenes entirely, the main story would keep moving perfectly fine. Leaving a character from the very beginning to just fade into boring background noise while the clock runs down says a lot about the writing. Meanwhile, the same worn-out pattern keeps dragging Ashley Barrett down. Boring office politics pile up because everyone already knows where she's going to end up anyway. That predictable ending takes up valuable screen time it didn't earn. The show spends too much time fixing boardroom drama while ignoring the massive storm building between the boys and Vought. This late episode avoids bold choices and circles back to conversations we have already heard a million times. Huey being shocked by Butcher's cruelty and Starlight crying over what she has lost. What should be an explosive, surprising finale instead walks down predictable paths, repeating old habits like a recycled script. Even the moment Homelander takes total control, something that should change history, feels flat and lacks excitement. Trapped inside boring rooms away from the streets and crowds, his rise to power feels tiny despite how massive it should be. The show's universe shrinks right when it needs to break wide open.